Since 2009, the holding of an annual Civil Society Week, CSW, has been aimed at bringing together all Amkeni wa Kenya partners to discuss and forge common understanding of key democratic governance issues which also guide Amkeni's engagement with the wider civil society, government, development partners, and stakeholders.
As UNDP, this is exciting. This is the fifth time that we're hosting Civil Society Week since Amkeni wa Kenya was launched in 2008 at a very vibrant ceremony at KICC. We had about 300 organizations, again from across Kenya, launched by the UN and by development partners and the Ministry of Justice. And since then we've really grown from strength to strength.
Today's Civil Society Week is historic in that it is the first major gathering of the civil society organizations after the general elections held in March 2013. As UNDP, we are proud to be partners with the people of Kenya. This is because the people of Kenya proved their political maturity one more time by participating in the elections in a peaceful manner.
Attention has always been focused on topical issues of relevance to civil society and the Kenyan stakeholders.
However, in this particular year, I want to mention two unique issues or two very specific things that we are focusing on. On one hand, we are holding this event at a time when this country is just settling down from elections. And indeed, county assemblies are shaping up. The governors and their executive committees are also coming up. Funding is already beginning to flow in counties, and indeed we are experiencing robust engagement with the civil society.
The traditional Civil Society Week organized by Amkeni wa Kenya annually was this year held against a backdrop of a changing and dynamic political environment in Kenya.
The Civil Society Week is part of what we do at Amkeni wa Kenya, partly because this is part of the agreement between the development partners and UNDP. And the whole purpose is that we need to be coming together as civil society partners who are working in this arena to have discussions on what is happening in the sector. It's also a platform for us to know what is going on, what are the strategies that we should be adopting, or what is current and what kind of interventions that we should be doing.
For those of you who know the work that Amkeni does, they do a lot of work on access to justice, they do a lot of work on enhancing citizen participation, promoting and protecting human rights, implementation of the Constitution, and why we are here on issues of devolution to see how is it that we as Kenyans can better participate and how can we as civil society exercise that oversight role, not only at the national government, but also at the county governments.
The 5th annual Civil Society Week was held in Meru. From the 11th to the 15th of November 2013, it was themed Safeguarding Democratic Gains, the Role of Civil Society in the New Dispensation.
The ushering in of the new constitution has been generally accepted as the beginning of a new era in Kenya. We were able to retire a constitution that had been used to consolidate and sustain an authoritarian constitutional order for many years. And I want to hail the civil society for the role they played in this struggle. That this forum is intended to look into the situation we are in now and to find out what the civil society should continue doing.
In particular, focus of issues discussed were, in summary, which way for civil society, the role of civil society in the new political dispensation, relooking at civil society strategies to advance social justice and realization of economic and social cultural rights. What strategies should the CSOs adopt in engaging the current establishment and safeguard the democratic space currently being enjoyed by Kenyans? Public participation, realizing the promises of devolution through effective public participation. The role of civil society in the new dispensation seems to have come under scrutiny. So, which way for civil society? And what is the role of civil society in the new political dispensation?
Finally, we have a constitution. We have county governments, and everything is supposed, the citizens are supposed to be happy because services are closer to them. But even with all this, I think that as the governor said, there's a lot of noise, but there's no constructive discussion. And citizens are confused. They don't know what to make of what is going on. And probably sometimes as civil society, there's also that bewilderment on our part that how do you address, for example, the issues that were presented here.
So they need to re-examine the general perception that civil society is inherently tuned to be hostile. Now, as the country is being transformed, is the concept of civil society being transformed itself? How well informed are players in civil society? How capable are they of thinking and arguing and responding to challenges as they arise?
My question is simple. How close can we be as civil society to the politicians?
There is nothing wrong with civil society operators being very close to the minister. Nothing wrong at all. Or being close to another government official, or being close to the senator here. There is nothing wrong with that. The issue is, are the values and the things to be promoted clear? If you are clear about what it is that you are doing, in fact, it is good to be friendly to those people so that you can guide them in the right direction.
Earlier, in the run-up to the general elections, a number of civil society organizations, CSOs, were accused of being politically partisan and were said to be supporting one side of the political divide.
What I'm trying to say is that we need a little more to interrogate some of the actions of the political society in a manner that allows you to interface with them, so that you ask them these questions. I've also asked the political society time and again that it is useful to invite members of the civil society to enrich our processes. I said there are volumes of great ideas within the civil society. Who do we produce our reports for? When the KCHR decides to produce a report on post-election violence, who does it produce it for? Your good literature, who is it for that you produce on a regular basis? In fact, maybe that's the question you must ask yourself. As you're doing your extraordinary report, who are you doing it for? Who are your natural allies and who are your stakeholders? If it is matters to do with legislative reforms, then your major stakeholder will inevitably be Parliament, because none of you can legislate law.
Are there strategies to advance social justice and realization of economic and social cultural rights?
That's a really deep thing, because most of the problems that we see in our country really are social justice issues and socio-economic problems. Those are the things that, and most of us organize around that, either through, in governance advocacy and our activism. These are the issues that we're trying to address. Yet, we do have, right now, we have the framework that allows us to engage with it. But it is time that we changed tact. It is time that we change tact, and the Constitution offers us that opportunity to change tact.
What are we going to do about families where women and children are being disinherited, land is being sold without the wives being aware that the land is being sold, and they are left to go to the slums with their children?
CSOs can work with Parliament to evaluate and monitor implementation, correct misrepresentation and maladministration, which is the essence of the reform agenda, provide positive criticism, raise policy issues and concerns, and provide alternative policy options based on experience and best practice. Ladies and gentlemen, this function can be done by way of petitions, motions, submission of memoranda during the vetting of approval appointments, call for impeachment of any state officer, including the president, and inquiries into matters including public pressure through civil action such as picketing and demonstration. And this is supported very well by the National Assembly Standing Orders, the Senate Standing Orders, and of course the Constitution of Kenya 2010.
What are you doing as civil society to create those forums or to take advantage of the forums that are established very clearly in the, I think it is section 22 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act? They are created. And if you look at the provision, that particular provision, it gives the opportunity for citizens to address virtually every governance issue that will affect people at the county level. Take advantage of the provisions of the Constitution, the relevant provision of the Constitution, to actually act as a major instrument, a major force for the implementation of the Constitution.
How about the strategies that CSOs need to adopt in engaging the current establishment to safeguard the democratic space being enjoyed by Kenyans?
To have a very strong civil society, we need to start thinking of how we'll change our strategies. Confrontational doesn't work. Currently, we have a new dispensation whereby you have forums for engagement. We need to take up those space and meaningfully engage. By meaningfully engaging, basically we need to start presenting those alternative policy options as opposed to just criticizing. We need to be very knowledgeable, for example, about the policy and legislative environment. That's when we can be able to influence a civil society.
So I think civil society needs to invest in networks and engagement with other actors who are not necessarily civil society but have the same concerns and sometimes have better knowledge and capacity than civil society.
As far as this particular program is concerned of Mkeni Kenya, we are dealing with the governance sector in devolution. We have created few structures in as far as undertaking this particular work is concerned. We have created a sort of a committee which is known as Civil Constituency Oversight Committee within those particular areas, formed by the local people from those particular areas. So those constituency oversight committees are composed of elders from those particular areas, and they are 16 in numbers. They are the ones who are empowered to oversee the future of those particular programs in their particular areas.
The 2013 elections was also a test on the maturity of the civic culture of Kenyans as shown by their ability to participate in democratic processes in a peaceful manner as opposed to the violence experienced after the 2007 elections.
Citizen participation, ladies and gentlemen, is a two-way process where government provides an opportunity for citizens' involvement and the citizens choose whether to be involved, whether to take up the opportunity and get involved.
Simply put, democracy is ruled by the people, of the people, and for the people. Kenya is a democratic country that has embraced the system of representative democracy, where representatives, usually members of parliament, are tasked with representing the people as well as their opinions.
Devolution has also been identified as a way of getting people and creating avenues for them to participate in the affairs of their governments.
So how does public participation realize the promises of devolution through effective public participation?
Devolution comes to strengthen your role as an individual and as a society, and as a groups and as societies in determining your future and your fate, and particularly in the manner you are governed. The Transition Authority is expected to facilitate civic education and ensure that there is adequate information dissemination and awareness creation on devolution. In order to do this, the authority has engaged partnerships with the government, civil society, and other non-state actors, including the development partners.
My organization in the years has fought tremendously to achieve the new dispensation that we have. So that in itself is a gain, that we were able to gain a new dispensation. So we are also still working to ensure that the citizens are actively participating in the process of democracy, and we are achieving that by having public forums, even with the government itself.
Sincerely speaking, after we started working with the Amkeni wa Kenya, we have really enlightened most of our community, especially in the grassroots. They didn't know even what is a participation, especially now with the devolved government. Most of them could not even go for elections, but after we talked with them, we held seminars, we took them for various activities. Right now they can speak up their mind.
Benefits of the Civil Society Week are reflected through the outcomes guided by the set objectives. These outcomes are ensuring that there is a broader understanding on the role of the civil society in the new dispensation.
We have a role in the civil society to continuously nurture national leaders. That is our role, because that's how you learn how to advocate, that is how you learn how to draft bills and to comment on them. The same thing that we do in the civil society is what happens on the floor of Parliament.
Developing strategies of engaging government agencies for the realization of social justice.
We are at the grassroots. On our part, we engage with the community members and the local people. So we are urging Amkeni to really engage with the people at the higher level, like the government officials and even the members of parliament. They should really engage on matters of law, even if it is going to court.
The need for public participation in county governments.
The issues of citizen participation, at least in Kisumu, it's somewhere. I can't. It's somewhere. You have seen some improvement in it, and recently, even the governor of Kisumu was being put on toast to explain on how the budget was done and everything about the budget by the Kisumu residents.
Developing strategies of safeguarding the democratic gains and enhancing citizen confidence in civil society.
This constitution is branded like a civil society constitution. Why? All the inputs were yours. Now you have a responsibility to nurture that document grow. Otherwise, all the pain, the sweat, the sorrow, the agony will put you to rest. And we have a responsibility, friends.
And creating synergies between civil society and various government agencies involved in the implementation of devolved government.
We have come up with a coalition, a network coalition, a network of civil society organizations. We've come up with that one, and we want to really actively engage with the government as a coalition, not as an organization on its own, but as a coalition of organizations, so that we have one agenda, we have structured agenda, we have structured discussions.
The gathering of the CSOs at the 5th Annual Civil Society Week adopted the following resolutions. 1. We shall redefine and improve our relationship with the national government and county governments with particular focus on dialogue and partnerships as opposed to confrontation. 2. We shall recast and improve our image in the eyes of the public, private sector and public sector. 3. We shall build partnerships and synergy with national government, the county governments and private sectors with a view to promoting good governance and the realization of all human rights and fundamental freedoms, in particular economic, social and cultural rights. 4. We shall strive to build capacities of county governments and facilitate them to effectively deliver on the promise of devolution, which is rights-based, democratic, accountable, open, inclusive, responsive and sustainability-oriented devolved governance. 5. We shall endeavor to empower the citizenry on their rights and duties in the country's new governance structure or system. 6. We shall strive to enhance public participation in decision-making at both national and county levels, and shall in particular advocate for the adoption and implementation of legal and policy framework that entrench participation as both a right and a principle of good governance. 7. We shall continue to encourage, motivate and mobilize the public to effectively participate in decision-making at both national and county levels of governance. 8. We shall undertake objectives that are issue-based, evidence-based and rights-based engagements with the duty bearers within the public and private sector alike. 9. We shall remain vigilant and pursue all legal means at our disposal to proactively oppose any attempt to erode or reverse the democratic gains made so far. including those relating to our operational environment, in particular, the gains made in the enactment of the Public Benefits Organization Act number 18 of 2013. And finally, commitment number 10. We shall endeavor to zealously defend the Constitution and the laws of Kenya, and in that respect, continuously monitor progress or regression in implementation of the latter in the spirit of the same.
We believe that a free, independent, strong and efficient civil society is part of any democratic society. That is the road our countries have taken, the sponsoring countries of Kenya and that is the road we believe that we must support in our partner countries such as Kenya.